My next guest does not need an introduction. Colby Chaos Covington joining me here on the program. Colby, how's it going, man?
It's going great, man. Can't complain. Living the American dream. So thankful for our troops, our first responders who, keep our law and order here in America. So it's going great. Can't complain. How you doing? How's Canada?
It could be better, man. I'd love to be able to get across the border right now, but not able to do that. But let's talk about you, man. We had the Kamaru Usman, Jorge Masvidal fight. You were front row. Your reaction to that finish, I know you expected Usman to win. Were you expecting him to finish Masvidal that quickly in the second round?
I wasn't expecting him to finish him that quickly, but, he definitely started throwing haymakers in that first round. You could tell he was starting to get gas. He didn't look like the same Marty that I fought before. He looked like a guy that maybe he needs to find a new chemist. Maybe, Marty Juiceman, the CEO of EPO. I wasn't surprised. I knew it was a possibility. George keeping his hands low, trying to defend takedown, scared of the takedown threat. And, he got caught with a big bomb, and that's how it goes.
Why weren't you able to go into the cage? Was that a UFC call? Like, what happened there? Because I figured that's what they were probably going to do, especially with Dana saying you're going to get the next title shot.
Yeah, Marty Fake Newsman and his manager Ali obviously campaigning not to have it happen. They're trying to pivot and find an easier fight in the division. Some other lightweight teammate, former teammate, or a guy like, Journeyman Judas, that fragile guy. They're trying to find easy pickings. They don't want to fight a real challenge. There needs to be a rematch, man. The fans want it. Dana wants it. The only person that doesn't want it is Marty.
What did you make of Usman's comments after the fight saying that, Masvidal made him nervous? This is a guy that he already beat last year. He was like a 4-1 favorite going into the fight. What did you make of that?
That's why nobody likes Marty. He's not a draw. He's not likable. That's why everybody in the arena was booing him last night. No one cares about him because he has no personality. His charisma is as good as the wet mop in the closet. So, I don't really make much of it. I think it's hilarious. He's just trying to hype himself up. That's what he's trying to do. And he's trying to do it off a complete journeyman. The guy, what was that? Almost 20 losses. That's pathetic, dude. The guy's lost every which way possible. He's lost to every weight class possible. The guy's a nobody, dude. He had his 10 seconds of fame. He got lightning in a bottle, but big freaking deal.
What was your thoughts post-fight at the presser with Usman saying to you specifically, you got to show me something? What was your reaction to that?
That sounds like a guy who's afraid. I can see the fear in his voice. If I would have been in his position and got a win like he did over me, and it would have been the reverse way, I would have wanted to rematch right away. I'd want to leave, no doubt, James.
It seems like Usman's not that interested. Do you think that's Usman himself who's saying that, or do you think it's his manager as well, kind of saying, you don't deserve the shot or whatever?
It's both of them saying that. They know who the hardest fight is for them. They know the path of most resistance. That's me. They're taking the path of least resistance right now. Why were they rematching Jorge Masvidal, Street Judas, that fragile guy, if they didn't think they were the best in the world? There was no reason to run that fight back. He was beaten 50-43. It wasn't a competitive fight, the first fight. Yeah, you could say 6 days notice, but what? Now he got 6 weeks notice. What does he need? 6 months notice now? What's the excuse next time? There's always going to be an excuse. Marty is just a better fighter than the journeyman, fragile dude, Jorge Masvidal. And the guy's got double-digit losses, man. He's a journeyman. He's never been more a great fighter or one of the best fighters in the world. So he cashed in on his 10 seconds of fame, but his fame are up now. Masvidal's at nothing, and there's no other fight in the division. I'm number one in the world, James. What else would I have to do? There needs to be this rematch with Marty Fake Newsman. There needs to be round two. There's unfinished business, and I want to take care of it.
Have you talked to Dana since the fights last night, or are you going to touch base with him this week?
I'm going to call him tomorrow. Yeah, we talked on we hung out Friday night. We went out together. We were kind of hanging out together. And then Saturday night, I talked to him a little bit in the back, and then he said call him on Monday. So I'm going to call him and Hunter. I got to talk to Hunter Campbell. That's the man to go to.
You feel pretty confident, though, you're going to get the shot?
I don't know. I feel confident that I'm definitely fighting for a welterweight title next fight, but I don't know if it's going to be against Marty. He might just vacate it, honestly. He might retire. He does not want to fight me, James. He knows how good I am. If I was the easy fight like Masvidal, he'd be clamoring to rematch me like he did with George right now. So, I'm not confident that it's going to be Marty, but I am confident it's going to be for the welterweight title, and I just can't wait to make the welterweight division great again.
I was going to say, because if it doesn't happen, we're not going to see you go to the Palms again and find Dana at the poker table, right? Nah. You guys have come a long way from that, right? I'm assuming, since that happened, right?
We came a long way. Me and Dana, we got a better relationship these days, and I respect what he's doing. I want to say thank you to Dana White. Last night, he brought some normalcy back to America and back to, arenas, putting 15,000 screaming fans, energetic on their feet in the arena. And big thanks to Ron DeSantis, our governor. We have the greatest governor in the state of America, in the country of America right now. He would literally beat up all 49 other governors of the other states in America. The guy's a complete alpha. So thank you, Ron DeSantis. Thank you, Dana White, for bringing some normalcy back to our lives. And there's only one reason I was out there last night, James. I was not there to watch fights. I was there to be among the people. It's been a while since the people have been in the arenas. I haven't got to see the people. I had to draw some energy and some inspiration from the people as the people's champion. But it was a great time last night.
Are you going to put it in the contract? Mark Goddard cannot ref the fight.
Without question. That's without question.
Let's say that does happen next. Ideally, when would you want to have that fight take place?
Looking at the schedule, it seems like the pay-per-view schedule is booked up all the way through July. So I think doing it in August makes sense. I think that's a good timeline. And, it's not like Marty took any damage in the fight. It was a pretty flawless fight for him, took him down, wore George out, and then George was tired, and he was able to throw a haymaker and land a big bomb. So, he didn't take any damage. It was an easy, flawless victory over the Judas, and he needs to turn around and fight in a couple months. He was saying in the lead up to the fight, go look at some of the headlines, James. He was saying, I want to fight 2 or 3 more times this year. So these are his own words, So, okay, you want to talk about something, then be about it, man. Am I the only one that talks the talk and walks the walk? Because I speak facts when I talk. I'm ready to go, and everything I say is the truth. I don't come out here and make headlines just to make headlines.
You talked about being at the new gym. What do you think specifically you've improved on since the first time you guys fought, being at MMA Masters and leveling up like you mentioned?
Just the timing. I didn't understand the timing before, like in fights. It was more just pressure pace. And, I didn't have good guidance. And my old gym, it's just a terrible gym. There's no chemistry there. Nobody, is working together. Everybody's fighting against each other. I mean, there's cliques in that gym, and it's a bad environment, very toxic, James, and a lot of negative energy and bad things coming towards my way there. So I just think that understanding the timing and a lot better finishing skills now, working with Daniel Valverde in the judo and jiu-jitsu. I mean, the guy's a black belt in both. And honestly, I think he's one of the best guys in the world at both sports, So been working with him a lot on finishing submissions and a lot of my judo takedowns. And then Cesar Carnero just working a lot in the kickboxing, understanding ranges, and doing a lot more straight punches. Last time I fought Usman, I was throwing a lot of hooks. That's not the path to get there the quickest. The path to get there the quickest is straight down the pipe. So I understand that. I understand the timing, and I'm well-rounded. He's not going to be able to have the threat of takedowns to me. If anything, I'll take him down in the fight. So I want that rematch.
I know prior to this fight, there was, linking you and Masvidal fighting each other, potentially on the Ultimate Fighter. I know from what I gathered, you said it was sort of a money issue for Masvidal. With him losing now, do you think you guys will never fight at this point? Just based after what happened and, last night with Masvidal getting knocked out?
Yeah. I mean, the guy just lost his 10 seconds of fame. All that big talk that he was talking about, being the top of the mountain, baptizing people, and he's going to do this and that. He just got laid out unconscious, motionless. If anything, I just want to say shout out to him for giving me a good shout out in his right when they're introducing him for the fight. He was throwing up the 503. Thanks for shouting out Portland, Oregon, your boy Colby Covington. But I'm the king of the 305 and I run the 503 too. So I love Oregon, I love Miami, and thanks to my buddy for shouting me out. But just it's sad because he's fragile. He has no chin, but at least he has a heart.
Speaking of having a heart, I saw there was that photo with you and Masvidal's, is it ex-wife, current wife? I'm not sure the deal there, but do you think that impacted him at all in the fight, just seeing that photo? Because the timing of it was pretty interesting.
Oh, yeah, James. Trust me, it definitely impacted him. I could see him. He looked at me in the cage too. He was looking down like I could see him getting like angry, and then his manager was like coming over the side of the octagon trying to scream. So they were all focused on me. They didn't care about Marty. So of course, they weren't even focused on the fight. And if we're talking about the truth, and since I'm the Ultimate Facts champion, that lady is his still current wife. They haven't got divorced. And I think the funniest part of it, James, if you go look on Google and you go look Jorge Masvidal's kids, Jorge Masvidal's wife, they tried to put the manager of him the Kawa brothers, they tried to put his sister as George's wife and mother of his children. So it's just disgusting, man. The Kawas in First Round Management are whoring out their sister to put Google on their client, fragile Judas Masvidal, and you're trying to erase history and you're trying to erase facts. This girl Maritza, who I took the picture with, who's a friend, James, we go way back almost 10 years. She's a family friend. She's a friend to me. So I don't lose my friends. I keep those dearly to me. So that's still the current wife of Jorge Masvidal and the mother of his children, 2 children.
Even before all of this, I talked to Chael Sonnen, and he said there was talks of you and Masvidal potentially doing something at Submission Underground. Was that the case? Were there ever any serious talks about that?
I don't know. There might have been some talks. I think Uncle Chael probably was trying to get that matchmaking, but he knows, everybody's afraid of me. No one wants to step up and compete against me, James. Everybody knows I'm Raw American Steel and Twisted Sex Appeal, and they don't want to mess with the Cardio King right now because I'm coming to take their souls.
The Ultimate Fighter is now going to have Alex Volkanovski and Brian Ortega as coaches. Were you surprised they went with them? I know that's a good fight, but as coaches, I don't think it's the most appealing choice for a lot of people out there.
Yikes. I know Hunter Campbell and Dana White probably had to go behind closed doors and be smacking themselves in the head because you don't want those 2 guys as your coaches, as your comeback season of Ultimate Fighter. Those guys are going to make a complete mockery of the show. I mean, there's just no entertainment factor there. Those guys, yeah, they're decent fighters, but for the little weights, the little midgets, but they don't sell, and there's no controversy, there's no drama, there's no nothing. There's no storyline. So, I feel bad for the show. I wish I could have came back to the show and give the people what they want.
Were there any other options? Like, had Masvidal not, obviously didn't come to fruition with you and Masvidal coaching, but did they ever, say, hey, do you want to fight this guy or have this guy as a coach? Or was it Masvidal or bust, so to speak?
They talked about doing after Masvidal, after he turned it down, they actually talked about doing, if Usman won, that they would do me and Usman. But, of course, Marty and Ali, they're just refusing to fight me right now, and they're trying to sit out and be bitches. There's a reason Marty's bitch made. He's 100% bitch made in Nigeria, Texas. He's not from Nigeria. He's from Texas, went to school and college. So I just think Marty, it's funny these days. He has a bald head. He couldn't take it. His hairline went halfway up his head, and I was giving him so much shit about it, he had to shave his head off.
Oh, there was a lot of people at that card last night, including Nick Diaz. Do you think Nick comes back at this point? I mean, we've been hearing his name for years. He was there. Apparently Dana White talked to him. Do you think Nick Diaz will be back in the octagon?
Yeah, James, there was a lot of people there. Yeah, Nick Diaz was there. Tom Brady was there. Mike Evans was there. Cuba Gooding Jr. was there. There was a lot of people there. Eddie Gallagher was there, a war hero. Do you think all those people are going to get in the UFC octagon and fight? So just because Nick Diaz was there doesn't mean he's going to fight.
Okay. And is that a fight? I mean, obviously Usman's the focus, but Diaz does come with that big sort of price tag. If you fight him, there's going to be people watching. Is that a fight that would ever interest you and Nick?
I mean, I was interested in a couple of years ago. We were supposed to fight in Madison Square Garden. He gave his verbal consent and then pulled out. So, I'm not chasing the guy. I have nothing to prove against the guy. I know I'm the greatest fighter in the world right now, so anybody can get it. I'm not turning down matchups. But that guy hasn't fought in years. I'm not going to believe that guy wants to come back and fight until he gets locked in the octagon.
Jake Paul was also there. Did you see him at the fights?
No, they knew. Keep that guy on the other side of the arena, man. Let him talk shit, to some washed up fighters. He only wants to fight guys that don't know how to throw hands and these guys that are old and decrepit. So, honestly, if I saw Jake Paul, I would literally smack the pubes off his chin.
I know you said that fight was fixed with him and Askren. Do you not think, though, if Askren was going to fix the fight, he probably would have laid there on the ground instead of getting up? Or do you think the ref was in on it? Like, what was your thoughts on that overall, on that fight that ended pretty quickly?
Yeah, Ben Askren was paid to take a dive. It's plain and simple. He was looking for one more payday, and he took the dive. He let the guy hit him. He was having some success. He wanted to show that he could hit him. He hit him a couple times, and then he just put his hands down and he was like, Jake, throw the overhand right. Let's do this circus act and keep the circus act and keep building this guy up like he's a real fighter. Jake Paul is not a real fighter. He's an amateur. He's a scrub. He's a bum, and he's going to keep fighting more bums.
He's been linked to Tyron Woodley, obviously, because he's buddies with Askren. Do you think Woodley takes that fight? Is that something that interests you at all, just to see that fight happen, or do you think it comes to fruition or not?
I mean, of course, Tyquil Woodley's going to be begging for that fight. The guy's just lost his UFC contract. He has no more paydays. Where's he going to get some money so he can go pay some alimony support and child support? So, of course he wants that fight. But another washed up old fighter, why are we talking about, this guy? Why doesn't Jake Paul want to come fight these young guys in their prime? If anything, Uncle Dana needs to send me over there, do a little one-off for the UFC just to do the MMA community a favor, man, because I feel bad for all the MMA community having to deal with this guy, thinking he's a real fighter, talking shit to all the fighters. Let's just end him, and then we can come back and get to normal life in MMA.
How many more fights do you have left on your contract with UFC?
Yeah, I just signed a couple new contracts, so I got a couple fights left.
And you're negotiating directly with the UFC, right? Because you don't have a manager anymore, correct?
That is correct, James. I let go of my management group. They weren't doing anything for me. And the biggest thing was unfulfilled promises. I don't like people that overpromise and underdeliver, because I always overdeliver and underpromise. So, I had to cut them loose, and I'll just deal directly with Dana White and Hunter Campbell.
And it's been fairly easy. I mean, like you said, Dana's already said you're going to get the next shot. So obviously things must be going well if he's, wanting to give you that opportunity.
Yeah, I think they respect it more that, I don't have anybody representing me. We're trying to get fights done. Anytime they call my number, I answer and I take the fight. I haven't turned down one fight ever in the UFC. I've never pulled out of a fight. Every fight I've went into, I've went into fights injured multiple times, broken bones, puking before the Usman fight, getting food poison, broken fibula in one fight, like all kinds of injuries. So, when they call, I answer. So it's a matter of timeline, getting on the right timeline now. Usman, of course, wanted these 2 easy fights with the Judas Masvidal, get his 10 seconds of fame out of the right. Now we're back to real business, unfinished business. Part 2, Marty Fake Newsman versus Colby Chaos Covington.
There's a lot of stuff going on in your division. I talked about Nick Diaz. His brother Nate is going to be fighting Leon Edwards. Were you surprised that they made that fight, and the fact that they're making it a 5-round co-main event? And I'm not sure if you saw that or not.
I didn't really see it because I don't pay attention to losers, James. You got 2 guys that are just complete bums. You got Edwards Scissored Hands, who's coming off a DQ loss for poking the guy in the eye like 3 or 4 times. And, he was warned multiple times by Herb D in the back. So, I don't talk about losers. And Nate Diaz, he's coming off like a couple losses in a row. What is he, a 50-50 journeyman fighter? So that soy boy, he's just looking for a cash grab. He's done. He's washed up too. So he's going to get one more cash grab, and we'll never hear of Nate Diaz ever again.
How do you think Tony Ferguson's going to do in a couple weeks? He's coming back to fight Beneil Dariush.
I don't pay attention to the little guys' weight class, James. I got better stuff to do. I got mamacitas to hang out with. I got that bedroom cardio to work on this. I got to keep this championship level cardio going right now. I got my rematch to get. I'm telling you, James, I'm going to shock the world, man. I'm going to win this fight. And it's amazing because everybody's hyping up Marty like he's the greatest fighter of all time, this and that. So when I go beat him, they can't discredit it. They can't say anything. There's no excuses. I'm going to dominate in the rematch, and then the sequel is going to be even better.
Got to ask you about one more fight, though. McGregor Poirier, the trilogy is going to be happening in July. Do you think Conor will make the adjustments to beat Dustin, or do you think Dustin will win again?
I think it'll be the same outcome. Conor McGregor, he's washed up. He's cashed out. He made so much money. He's not hungry like he was before, and he's not that broke kid, that came up in the streets of Ireland and was fighting for food and fighting for this. Now he's got all this money. He's got this luxury life. He's privileged, and so that privilege, it takes a toll on you. And his work ethic is gone. And, it just so happens that Dustin Poirier got lucky timing with that, and he got the fight. Because Dustin Poirier, he's terrible. He's garbage, man. I used to train with him. The guy's a complete bum. I mean, he's funny because he's always talking all this big talk. Oh, it's on site when I see Colby. No, it's not on site, bitch. You know who your daddy is. Oh, yeah, and talking about Dustin Poirier, I thought that fight should have got canceled, man. That Conor McGregor came out and called out Dustin for the truth. He's using his charity, just to make money for himself, and it's a tax write-off. He's not actually using that money for kids and doing this. He knows, Conor McGregor knows that Dustin Poirier is literally a con man, and he's conning the people with this so-called charity Good Fight Foundation Act. Dude, that's not a good fight. Oh, dude, guy's the fakest guy in the world. I wish people really knew who Dustin Poirier was, not just who they portray him as in the media.
Do you think Jon Jones fights again? I know you've had ties to Jon for years or whatever, but obviously he's wanting a lot of money to fight Francis Ngannou. Do you think it'll get done, or do you think Jon will probably be sitting out for a while because it looks like the UFC is going to move on from his fight with Lewis, or his fight with Ngannou, on to Derek Lewis?
He'll probably fight one more time, like a cash grab, when he gets old enough. Like, I don't know. I think he's like 35 right now. 30. Let's see, because we were roommates, and he was a year older than me when we were roommates at Iowa Central. So I would have been 18, he'd been 19. So yeah, I'm 33. He's got to be 34. He'll sit out till he's like 36, 37. Then he'll get old and start to feel all the wear and tear and just decide to come back for the, whatever the UFC wants to offer him, maybe a couple million, and that'll be that. But he's not going to get what he's asking for because he's not a draw. All the fans are disinterested in him. They don't care about him anymore. I mean, dude, he's a steroid-using, cheating, lying, just piece of shit person. He claims to be this father and godly person, but you don't doing things that are fatherly like and godly. Wrecking a Bentley with hookers in the back is not godly. Cheating on your wife with multiple women is not godly. So, people exposed him and they don't like him anymore. So there's a reason he's not a draw, and there's a reason he's not going to get that money from the UFC.
And another name we keep hearing about is Khamzat Chimaev. It looked like, had he fought Leon Edwards and won that fight, they were probably going to give him the title shot. What do you make of him? And everyone's sort of saying he's the next big thing.
I've never even heard of him. I mean, I don't pay attention. Does this guy have a ranked win yet?
He doesn't. To be fair, yeah.
Oh, he doesn't. Everybody's hyping these kids up these days. They were just hyping up journeyman Street Judas Masvidal like he was this world beater and he's going to baptize people and he's the best fighter in the world. Oh, blah, blah, blah. We just saw what happened to him. He was unconscious in the octagon. It's just, that's the state and age of the UFC anymore. It's just all about hype, and there's no credibility. There's no, I wouldn't say there's not credibility. It's a great, I'm not talking about the organization, but like the way people get hype on them is just a complete joke, man. Go out there and show it. With your resume, look at my resume, multiple UFC champions on it that I've beaten. So, when a guy starts beating multiple UFC champions and starts beating the top guys in the world, then come holler at me and I'll hit you down a step.
And you talked about it there. You talked about the improvements you've made. How does a fight between you and Usman play out, the rematch? What's your prediction? How do you see that rematch going down?
Without Mark Goddard being in there, the anti-Brexit fool who is literally hating on me and calling calls against me because he doesn't like who I support, and what I support. So, there's not going to be a ref to help to stop him and change my momentum. A guy that's going to call a nut shot when it was clearly a liver kick. A guy that's not going to give him extra time when he's faking in the other eye. When I barely touched his left eye, he's faking on his right eye like his right eye's hurt. So he's not going to get these momentum changes. And I saw last night a lot of weakness, James. I don't think people saw it. People were trying to mark this as some great knockout and this and that. No, I saw the first round how tired Marty got. If you go look back on the tape, you're going to see him that he's starting to gas. He was starting to show fatigue. He started throwing big shots. If he fights like that against me, James, I promise you I'll finish him inside 3 rounds.
We'll be keeping tabs, Colby. Thanks so much for doing this, man. Really appreciate it. Anyone you want to thank, any sponsors, any social media you want to plug before we get out of here? I'll give you the last word.
I want to thank our first responders and law enforcement and military here in America. They protect our freedoms. They keep law and order. And, those are the ones that sacrifice it all so we can have the opportunities we have right now.
And Bang Energy, I'm sure you want to shout them out too. I saw that commercial you did, man. That was pretty good.
Yeah. Bang Energy, man. Big shout out to Jack Owak and Meg Liz Owak and the whole Bang Energy family. They've done a lot for me this year. And through the pandemic and the scamdemic, and then through Marty Fake Newsman ducking me, they've made it possible so, I could keep training, and they're taking care of my training camp and giving me the best, possible supplements on the market, the best possible vitamins, and just keeping me healthy and fueled and ready to go get that belt.